Hello and welcome to Coffee Lovers TV. Joseph here. On the show today, we're going to be unboxing and brewing on this Espro coffee travel press. Now, Espro makes a really nice French press, and actually don't have one of their regular French presses. I've used one of them before. What they do kind of differently than the other French presses is they have a couple layers of filters, and essentially they're going for an extremely well-filtered cup of coffee. So the travel press is their travel version of the French press, which is pretty cool. So what I want to do on the show today is just kind of unbox and explore the travel press here. And then I'm going to brew up some coffee on it. And I kind of want to talk about who this is for, like how you might want to use this, how practical it is. If you work in an office, maybe this is a good thing to have at the office where you can just make a nice quick French press. Maybe this is something where you can kind of make a French press as you're on the way out the door and then have some really fresh brewed coffee on the way with you. Maybe this is something where you can fill it up with some coffee grounds and then take it with you, and then later on add hot water when you're ready to brew your coffee. So there's lots of possibilities with this kind of thing. There's lots of text going on the box here. So first off, they have this kind of diagram, which is kind of cool. Coffee plus hot water plus the travel press gets you your coffee. Pretty straightforward. You got the press down here, and you obviously, just like a French press, you add your grounds and your hot water, and then it has two layers of lids. So it's got the drinking lid with the press attachment, and we're going to see this, of course, when we pull this apart. And once you press down, you've got this other lid that you can add on top, this travel lid, which will seal it all up. So that part's pretty nice. I've seen some other travel presses which are less suited for actually traveling. I've seen a lot of just travel coffee mugs in general that are really not good for travel because they don't seal. I have one travel tumbler essentially that seals perfectly and keeps the coffee hot for so long, but you can't find it anywhere. Like it was made as a promo for a show and you can't buy it, which is kind of silly because it's like one of the best things ever. Anyways, I'm rambling on. Hopefully this is gonna please me as much as that one does in terms of traveling with coffee, because I would love to be able to promote a travel mug. So this double micro filter essentially keeps all the grit out of the coffee, which is that is kind of their thing at Espro. It's like the most filtered French press you can get. They also, interestingly, offer paper filters. Now, I'm going to be very curious to try that out. I don't think I'm going to do that on the show today, just because I want to give this a whirl, just as most people would use it. Okay, so we're going to unbox this, and just as a sidebar, the coffee that we're going to be brewing with is this Congo Mungano by Conduit Coffee. Very delicious coffee right now. Okay, the Espro. Let's open you up. Pretty straightforward. Bam! There it is. There's the box. This is a nice design. Pretty compact. Point of interest: this says it brews 10 ounces and holds 15. So if you take the filter out, you can just use it as a travel mug and just have 15 ounces of coffee in there. Very nice. Let's go ahead and remove the label, or shall we? No, let's keep it on. Feels like it's stuck on there. I'm gonna keep it on for the demo because it's not interfering with the functionality at all. Okay, so this is a twist off cap. So there's our travel. So we want to make it into a travel mug. That just should perfectly seal it. And it looks like it probably does that really well. Here is, I don't know how visible that's going to be. In fact, I can't pull the French press. This is the press handle right here. So we're gonna have to remove the cap actually. I'm assuming it's a twist off. Is it? Don't break it now. Yeah, there we go. That's sealed on pretty well. Oh, maybe it isn't. Is that not a... Okay, whatever. Oh, there we go. Okay, how's that for packaging? Alrighty, let's see. So directions, I mean, if you need directions, it looks like it comes pretty well packed. It looks like you can make tea with this as well. They call it a coffee and tea travel press. Let's just go ahead and set that aside because I'd rather just figure it out as we go along. Let's see here. There's lots of plastic involved in this, but I suppose that's okay. It looks like a lot of this comes apart. I'm just gonna go ahead and take it apart since we're on that anyways, just so you know there's nothing left in here. That is just the mug. This is all hard plastic. It looks like this, just like most French presses, this handle is gonna come off. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do that because why not? You probably don't wanna do this while there's coffee in here. You're gonna get the threads of this all gunked up. But that all comes apart. And there's our filters. So this is basically the filter system, which is the same for Espro's regular French press. So this is just scaled down to fit into a travel mug, and it has the extra added feature of this is the top of the press, and the travel mug top fits on top of that. So basically the only differences between this and their regular French press, as far as I can tell. So I think, yep. So we have these little these little notches here, and we've got these two filters, and that is their filter system. Comes with this nice little label and instructions to do exactly what I just did. Separate to clean, attach to filter. Oh yeah, so I guess when you clean up afterwards, you can pull these apart and give them a wash. Looks like pretty fine metal mesh. Feels like it's pretty high quality. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of plastic, but it looks like it's pretty good quality. And you've got this kind of rubber seal that'll seal around the edges, which is good. One of the things about the classic style French press is that metal filter is designed to seal the edge, and it can only do so much. But this looks like it would be pretty good at keeping pretty much all of the grounds below the filters, which is what you want. And here are the paper filters. Interesting. I don't know how these apply. I'm actually going to consult the directions. Ah, interesting. So it looks like to use the paper filter, what you actually do is essentially take one of the filters like this and squeeze it between these two, supposedly. I'm not sure how that locks into place, but that's what the directions say. For pour-over style coffee, separate the filters, place the paper filter in between, and lock the filters back together. So I'm gonna screw all this back together, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to actually wash this. I'm not gonna do soap and water, although I probably should for the first time, but since I'm brewing with it right now, I'm just going to give it a good wash with hot water. The reason I'm not gonna do soap and water is just because I don't want to spend a bunch of time making sure all the soap is out of here. It's one of the things with immersion style brewing is that they can be really tough to clean. I don't know how this is gonna turn out. So when we get to brewing, it's gonna be coffee and hot water. It looks like, I don't know if it's designed this way, but it looks like so let's say you have the scenario of you want to just add your ground coffee to this and then go about your day. You could probably, I could probably add ground coffee to this right now. I wouldn't want to push this down all the way, so I don't want to pull it out later, but just do that and then toss this in the bag with ground coffee in it, no hot water. And then when I get to where I want to make coffee, I could just pull this open and fill this up with water. Probably pull this out so that the press is all the way out. Fill it up, wait 4 minutes, press down, and then you have coffee where you are. So that's kind of a fun little convenience I suspect you could probably do. Okay, so I'm gonna give this a wash and then grind some coffee, and then we're gonna brew, and I'm just gonna treat it like I'm at my desk at work or something like that. Let's see, we have, so this says it brews 10 ounces of coffee, 300 milliliters. 300 milliliters is about 300 grams of water. So if we do 15 to 1, let's say we do 15 to 1 ratio of water to grounds, then that means I'm going to be adding 20 grams of ground coffee to this. And it's gonna be coarse because we're doing a French press. So 20 grams coarse ground is gonna go in here. And then we're gonna add, I'm not gonna use a scale other than knowing that I'm gonna put 20 grams in here, just because I'm going by the volume on this. I think, I noticed some lines on the inside, so I think that whole plan of you're trying to fill up from the cap is probably not proper. Although, I mean, do whatever you want with your coffee brewer. But they have these two lines etched into the side. So I think the idea is that you add 20 grams and then you fill up to this line. So that's what I'm gonna actually do when I do the test, is I'm gonna use the guides on here. Okay, so I'm gonna go clean this, ground some coffee, and then come back to you. All right, we're back here for the first part of the brew. What I decided to do is, actually I'm gonna be measuring the temperature of this. I just thought that'd be fun to do. So I'm gonna measure right as I brew. I'm gonna measure when I pour, right after it's ready. Or maybe I'll try drinking out of this. I suspect it's gonna be a little too hot, and I don't wanna wait too long. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna treat it like you normally would. So I am gonna try to drink out of this, but I do want to measure the temperature when it's ready, when I'm ready to drink it. And then what I want to do is I want to cap it off with this, and then I want to come back in a couple hours and see how it holds the temperature. I'm just really curious how well that's gonna do. One of my favorite French presses is a double-walled steel French press. I did an article on it a long time ago, and it held the temperature of the coffee so well, and that can be really nice. I think especially if you're traveling, you're on the go. If you did like throw together a French press and then capped it off, but then you couldn't drink it for like an hour or two, what's going to happen to the coffee? I think we want to know two things there. How's the temperature hold up, and how's the taste hold up? So I'm going to actually do that here. I'm going to go ahead and brew this. I'm going to try it out first, right off the bat. And then I'm gonna come back to this in 2 or 3 hours and see how things are. So here is our ground coffee going in. And like I said, I measured out about 20 grams, and we're gonna go up to the fill line. All right, now they say to give it a stir. I think it's pretty reasonable that you'd be able to do that in an office environment. So, or pretty much any environment, you can probably have something to stir with. But if you didn't stir, it'd probably be fine. Since it's relatively easy to do that, I'm going ahead and I'm stirring. And now we're just gonna wait 4 minutes. So I'm gonna do what I usually do with a French press, is just put that on there to keep the heat in a little bit. And then we're gonna come back in 4 minutes. And oh yeah, I need to measure the temperature. Let me go ahead and do that. So we get a starting point. So we're reading about 190. That's totally fine. So we're gonna come back in 4 minutes and take another temperature read, press it down, and see what the coffee's like. All right, we're back. A little bit of a recording snafu there. I'm already in the middle of plunging. So there's one thing I was pointing out. I'll get to the temperature in a second. You might see the steam coming out. It's actually holding the temperature really well. But first, so I'll point out this plunger. Number one, this seems to, like, it maybe comes loose really easily. When I was cleaning it before this, I noticed that the handle here had come loose. Like it comes loose easily. So I'd be really careful about that when it's in here. Like I said, if you unscrew this while it's in here, you're probably gonna end up with grounds in the threads of that, and that's probably gonna be a pain. Secondly, is I'd be really careful about touching the plunger metal part here. It's actually not too bad right now, but they do have a tendency to get really hot on French presses as they're sitting in hot water. So when I took the temperature, it was actually 186, and I can hardly feel any, like the bottom of this is cool. The bottom of this is cool. The top of this is a little bit warm, especially at the top here where the plastic is, but this is holding heat really well. I'm quite impressed. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish plunging here. A little bit more resistance towards the bottom. I don't know if it's gonna let me go all the way down. It will not. It does not let me, can't really show without pouring out coffee here, but It's not letting me plunge all the way to the bottom. But that's far enough. There's a little indentation here, so that should be fine. Okay, this is looking quite hot. I'm probably gonna burn myself trying to take a sip here, but let me be a little cautious and give it a shot. It smells plasticky. Maybe one of the issues of using plastic. Maybe I should have cleaned it better at the beginning. But yeah, it's kind of smelling plasticky. Oh, that's hot. Oh, that is smooth. Okay, that needs to cool down a little bit. That is really hot. That is like undrinkably hot right now. And you know what? It's probably gonna take a long time for that to cool off. Like I'm just burning my tongue. Let me, for the sake of a little brevity here, I am gonna pour some of this out into a mug so I can actually taste it right now. I wanna do my, I just brewed and I'm heading out the door test as well. So that's what this is. Now, hey, I just brewed and I'm about to head out the door. But we also wanna see what the coffee actually tastes like brewed on this. So this will give it a chance to cool down. That is really clean. That is really clean. Okay, that's an impressive French press. So I have to say two things. Number one, this is brewing a really fantastic cup of coffee. I'm not a fan of the plastic, but it's brewing a really good cup of coffee. But I'm not a fan of the plastic. I hope that plastic smell will go away in the long run. Maybe it will. It's not something I can tell right now. I just opened this out of the box. But this is an incredibly clean French press. No fines or anything even. I mean, I know I just poured right off the top. Maybe there would be a little bit, but that is a very smooth cup. So as far as the coffee it's brewing a really good cup of coffee. Yeah, a little bit of an issue with the plastic, I think, but we're gonna go ahead and do the long test. I just brewed this and threw it in the bag. You know what we want to find out right now? What happens when I turn this upside down? Any leakage? Because what happens if it turns upside down in your bag, huh? I mean, also, side note, as far as brewing coffee goes, that's a fair amount of agitation. That doesn't usually happen in a French press, but since it's a travel press, we can assume that maybe you have this in your hand and you're running for the bus, right? What happens? Maybe it's in your bag, sloshing around, getting turned upside down. No leak, not a single drop of leakage thus far. I know this is like a really limited test, but come on, that's pretty good, right? It's not like that's terribly difficult with this setup. There's no pop top. Like to drink this, you have to unscrew this, and I sealed it on there pretty well. But that's a really good seal, and this seal is good too. There's two seals going on here. This is the main cap attached to this. This is the secondary sealed cap for traveling. Yeah, quite impressed so far. Okay, we're gonna let this sit. We're gonna come back to it in a couple hours. I just brewed coffee, running out the door, and I can't drink it for a while. So we're gonna come back in a couple hours and see how it is then. All right, we're back. Now we're gonna see how this Espro travel press has done. It's been a little over 3 hours, and the press itself, the bottom is actually, it's the temperature of the table. It's cold. The top gets warm up to the top of the mug, a little bit warm. So there's a little bit of heat escapage right here. But all in all, this is impressive from the outside. Let's find out how hot our coffee is after 3 hours. All right, pretty good seal on there. And no steam coming out. All right, I'm going to open this up so I can get a good temperature reading in here. 3 hours later and we're at 138. That's a pretty good drinking temperature. Let's see how the taste is. Yeah, it's tasting a bit over extracted at this point, which is not surprising since it's been sitting in the grounds for that long. That's quite a long time for coffee to sit in the grounds. So I was kind of hoping the double filter might stop that, but that is apparently not the case. Yeah, it's a little much for how long that's been sitting in there. So as a travel mug itself, seems to be a really good tool. It looks like, I'm just wondering if the cap can go on without this, Like if you just wanted to, oh, let's see how this comes out here. Without making a mess, or are you gonna make a mess? A little bit. So, dragged a little bit of the grounds with it. Okay, what I'm curious about is, no, okay. So, regardless, you need this on there, but if you weren't going to use the press, it looks like you could remove the plunger really easily. You would just then attach this. So yeah, I think this follows normal French press rules of use it soon after you brew it, but it's, it does seem to make for a pretty nice portable French press. As we demonstrated earlier, there's no leakage. Like, this is pretty well sealed. Getting absolutely no leakage. Got a little coffee on my hands just from opening it up there a second ago, but I mean, this is something you could fill with coffee and toss in your bag, and it's gonna keep the coffee hot just by itself. The earlier tasting certainly showed that the French press is good, but I definitely wouldn't want it sitting, brewing, like I wouldn't want all the grounds sitting in here for 3 hours, because that's just, honestly, not very delicious at all. Very over extracted. Plus, wow, that's all that, is that really all that's in there? Okay, there we go. Looks like you gotta squeeze out a bit at the bottom, maybe? What's going on here? Huh. It looks like the double filter thing seems to trap some coffee in there. So this thing says it brews 10 ounces of coffee. I only had maybe an ounce earlier, and this mug's only half full now. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe there's some getting stuck in here. Or maybe just sitting around for 3 hours, the grounds have soaked up quite a bit. Ooh, that's a mess. All right. Well, there's the Espro travel press. Final thoughts, great press, great travel press if you're gonna drink the coffee without too much delay, or if you are going to, after brewing, empty this out into another vessel. You wouldn't want the coffee and the grounds sitting in here for too long. It's just gonna get nasty like any kind of French press. And cleaning this on the go doesn't look like it's gonna be terribly fun. So that's a thought. As just a travel mug, this thing is gonna keep your coffee hot. That's really good. And sealed. So, really great travel mug, really nice French press. Combination of the two, depends on how you use it. That's the Espro press. I'll go ahead and put links to the Espro in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, give me your comments below, subscribe if you haven't, and I hope you have a great week.